Yes.
I'd like to call the Federal Town Council special meeting to order this evening for January the 6th, 2020. Would you stand, please, for the Pledge of Allegiance? By Bill Caesar.
Join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This time we have a moment of silence. This time I'd like for the council to make a motion to appoint Tina as our special clerk of council.
Mr. Mayor, I move that town council appoint and recognize Tina Presley as clerk of the Front Royal Town Council pro temp for the meeting of Front Royal Town Council on January 6, 2020, special meeting, and for such additional and further meetings and times that are a continuation of the January 6, 2020 meeting at her services such as clerk pro temp may be needed.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carried.
Just have a seat anywhere in there.
Ms. Tina, would you mind giving us the roll call, please?
Mayor Tewalt,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Seelock,
Yes.
Councilman Gillespie,
Yes.
Councilman Holloway,
Yes.
Councilman Meza,
Yes.
Councilman Thompson is absent.
Before we get into our meeting, Mr. Huck asked me if he could speak for about 5 minutes on a special issue that he wants to ask the council about. Mr. Huck, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, my name is William Huck, CNC Frozen Treats, 409 East Main Street. As you know, we have a meeting coming up that's been give out to everybody, the business owners and participations of businesses up and down Main Street for the Village Commons area that will be discussed on January 16th. According to the email that was sent to us, we will have this discussion, and then at the end of February, we will have an answer that will be turned over to the town council. According to the flyer, we're going to have 3 dates. The email only shows one. I'm looking forward to participating in these meetings to come to terms on some of the procedures and policies for the events that we have. But I also like to say that we're 6 months into a planning process on 2 different events that we have going on in our town in May. One of them happens to be my event, which is the Family Fun Day, which is Mother's Day weekend, which will be May the 9th. And then we have a second one, which is the Chamber of Commerce, which is the following weekend in May, that are both kind of in limbo right this moment. Sure, we can move forward and we can do this, but we really don't have a direction to move towards. And proposing the advertisement and how we need to go about getting this done. Again, I'm all for this, so what I'm asking for tonight is for us to say, yes, we're going to continue these 3 meetings, we're going to see what has to be done, and the council can make a decision. You tell me that I need to wait till March to turn into special events, fine, but I can't start planning in March for an event in May. It takes a year to plan these events. You've all been in my shoes with the events that y'all have planned in different organizations. I'm asking you for a little respect. We've gone through this for 4 years, back and forth. Last year, in December, we satisfied this, or so we thought, and it arose again in May again this year, so we're right back to square one. So I'm asking you to allow CNC Family Fun Day and the Wine and Craft Fest to continue our planning with no qualms or no mishaps and the plannings of that, and let's work forward to future events down the road. So that's what I ask you for tonight, is let's do the meetings, let's come up with a solution, let's come up with a final solution once and for all, but allow myself to continue to build our community and the events that I build, and to allow the chamber to continue to bring the Wine and Craft Fest to our community. Both of those bring tax revenue into our area that we do not want to lose. I thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thanks.
I'm sure that our town manager will be in contact with you.
Thank you.
Also. Next item on our agenda is item number 5, council appointment. Would you mind reading the summary, please?
Due to former Councilman Eugene Tewalt being elected mayor in the special election held in November of 2019, there is currently a vacancy on town council. Council is requested to make an appointment to this vacancy.
Do I hear a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I move that council appoint Lori Athey Cockrell to the Front Royal Town Council to fill unexpired term expiring December 31st, 2020.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Tina, I'd like to have a roll call on that, please.
Vice,
Is there gonna be discussion?
All right, discussion?
Yeah, I wanted to take a quick opportunity to say thank you to all the applicants for the appointment. We had multiple interviews with good candidates, and this council spent some time deliberating. It's always difficult. You don't get a whole lot of time with each person. But again, I was pleased to see that we had a good turnout of applicants and a good pool to choose from. And I'm excited that Lori's coming on board. I think that she'll do a great job and bring a different background than any other council member has on this council, and help round out this council so that we can make some good decisions moving forward this next year. And that's it, Mr. Mayor.
Anyone else?
I do want to echo some of the same sentiments that Jake made. Had a great pool of candidates, and I wanted to thank every one of them for showing interest and wanting to serve. And it was a tough decision, on my part. There were a number of great candidates who interviewed well. And again, just want to say thank you.
Anyone else? Could I have a roll call, please?
Vice Mayor Seelot,
Yes.
Councilman Gillespie,
Yes.
Councilman Holloway,
Yes.
Councilman Meza.
Yes.
Motion carried. Next item tonight is we need going into closed meeting this evening. Could I hear a motion, please?
Mr. Mayor, I move that council convene and go into a closed meeting for the purpose of discussion or consideration of the investment of public funds, specifically bargaining with insurance consultant or consultants where competition or bargaining is involved. Where if made public initially, the financial interest of the government unit would be adversely affected pursuant to section 2.2-3711A6 of the Code of Virginia.
Mr. Gillespie.
Okay. You'll have to read the rest of it on the other pages.
Eric, you want to read that?
You have to read the one that's in your packet.
Can you both speak?
Discussion, consideration of interviews of prospective candidates for executive search firm to assist town council in consideration of hiring candidates for a permanent town manager pursuant to section 2.2-3711.A.1 of the Code of Virginia. Number 2, consultation with legal counsel and briefings by staff members or consultants pertaining to actual or probable litigation, specifically the Economic Development Authority, where such consultation or briefing in open meeting would adversely affect the negotiating and litigating posture of the town council. Probable litigation, meaning litigation that has been specifically threatened or on which town council or its legal counsel has reasonable basis to believe will be commenced by or against a known party pursuant to section 2.2-3711.A.7 of the Code of Virginia, in consultation with legal counsel employed or retained by town council regarding specific legal matters requiring the provisions of legal advice by such counsel, specifically what the town will be doing with the Afton Inn building and parties legally interested in it, pursuant to section 2.2-3711.A.8 of the Code of Virginia.
Second.
Would someone else make it before you, because you read part of it, so.
Second.
Okay, we have a second. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. Thank you. We're gonna be going into a closed meeting. We'd like to ask you all to step out.
Second of that.
Chris, twice.
Twice.
All right, the first thing on our work session tonight is the Audit and Finance Committee appointments.
Do you want to adjourn the special meeting, Mr. Mayor?
Okay, we can. Yep. All in favor of adjourning the meeting, council meeting?
So moved.
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay.
And that was Gillespie made a motion,
Yeah.
and seconded by Mezza.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Mayor, first on the work session is the selection of the Audit and Finance Committee. Currently, we have Mr. Mezza, and you were as a council member.
Right.
So we need to have two individuals, two councilmen, who are part of the Audit and Finance Committee.
You may want to volunteer.
I'm happy to continue.
Gary? Is that okay with the rest of council?
Yes.
Put that on then in the morning, next meeting.
Okay?
I presentation, manager.
Yes, I'm going to lead this, members of council. This is a rather important item. I have Mr. Boyer. Why don't you come up and have a seat here, Robbie? I'm going to fly through this as quickly as possible. I have a presentation behind you, Jake. We all know about the issues with the I&I. Let me get this turned on. Bottom line up front, town staff has a recommendation that we develop a very aggressive plan as it relates to I&I. Currently, there's some very good financing options that are available. We're in the process of completing front roll basins 6 and 7, and the next map will refresh your memory on where that's located. There's been some discussion about the lagoon project at the wastewater treatment plant as a possible option. Staff is recommending to postpone that. Staff and consultant actually recommended that. We are going to be recommending commencing other front roll basins that we had put a plan together for that. The steps there that you see are the steps that we go through: cleaning camera, smoke test, manhole inspections, flow metering, lining, manhole rehab, and open cut replacement. Those are the steps that we go through in each one of these basins. As a refresher, here's some of the locations of the basins. You'll see the various, in your presentation, you'll see the various basins. Again, 6 and 7, we are targeting currently. Basin 5, we have one project going on, which we'll discuss here in a moment. You may recall this chart before. You'll see how we determine Basin 5 and 6 is the most critical. They have a million-gallon discharge of 3 million to 2 million. And then basin number 1 as the third most targeted area. The prioritization, as mentioned, 6 and 7, we are in the process of working on. We're going to recommend targeting basin 1 and basin 5. Basin 5, we are targeting one aspect of it. Currently, it's a $700,000 replacement at East Stonewall. Currently, we have $2.5 million for. Robbie, does that include the 2.5 million is just for 6 and 7, or does that include 5?
It has some lining at 5, but not the bridge. The
Okay.
770 for the bridge is not in the 2.5.
Yeah, so we're going to be investing $3 million this year in I&I mitigation. Just to give you an idea of what's going on, we have
And this is to try to avoid the roughly $40 million project to...
$22 million, correct, for the lagoon, but more importantly, we're in a consent order to reduce our I&I inflow and after the dumping of the sewage. Tri-State Utilities is in the process of working on 5, 6, and 7. They're working on laterals. The bid's been awarded for over $1 million. Estimated completion is fall of this year. We have manhole rehab, interior rehabilitation. There's already been 56 done to date. Watertight frame and cover placement, 140 replaced to date. So we're making a lot of progress. This bid was for about $200,000. Then we have another LLC, Portland Utilities, replacement of pipe burst. That's award of $887,000. Good news about this bid That came in $600,000 under our estimate, which made all of us very, very happy. Current situation in 2017, we had 3 bypasses to the total of 12 million gallons. In 2018, we got hit really hard. We had 12 bypasses for 35 million gallons, and in 2019, we're about 1.5 million. We have been under, as you know, a consent order since 2009. The town is waiting literally any day, probably be this week or next, for an updated consent order from DEQ. Frankly, I'm not anxious to get that letter, but I assume it's going to be another. We're being forced to take very aggressive steps, probably steps that could have been taken years ago. But I think the path forward that we have is a path you're going to want to do. We have 2 options. I'm sorry, I went too fast. 2 options again was the equalization lagoon or the sewer distribution system improvements. The pros of the equalization lagoon is it would reduce bypasses because you have a holding tank or holding area. The cons for that is it's been estimated to be a $22 million project. It really doesn't reduce the sanitary sewer overflows. Portion of the sanitary sewer systems have reached the end of life cycle, and it takes about 12 months to design phase 2 and upgrade. What also is another con in here that I did not put in here, frankly just didn't have space, but we still have to process and treat that storm sewer water. So for the sewer distribution system, one of the greatest pros of this is it will reduce our electric and chemical expenses. Currently, we're spending about $843,000 on electric and $817,000 on chemicals. If we had a 50% reduction in I&I, that would save about $800,000 a year. That alone, in my opinion, is going to pay for it, as you'll see later on in a moment. It lowers the insurance claims due to the rain, I&I backups, keeps the town in compliance with the consent order, and as I mentioned earlier, we have some very favorable financing options that are available. We were advised by our consultant that there's a possibility of getting 0% financing for 20 or 25 or 30 years. Assuming that we invested $8 million for these other basins, we would have an estimated $400,000 a year payment for that, which I think is going to will be paid for by the reduced electric and reduced chemical expenses. Robbie seems to think that it's going to take the speed of implementation and completions estimated in 2023. He and I are going to be working offline to try to come up with a way of trying to shave off some months and get that completed sooner if we targeted some of these other basins. The con for this item is that it's an estimated cost. We don't have firm prices. I&I removal effectiveness is unknown. So really, how much can we improve? We just don't know yet. So the recommendation is to move forward on phase 1, which is a $5 million project. Is the remainder of the Basin 5, target front row Basin 1, target Basin 9, and target Basin 8. Phase 2 will be a $3 million project targeting Basin 2, 3, and 4. The next aspect of this would be lateral solutions. These would be the lines on the public side of the sewer lateral from the sewer main to the property line, and any non-PVC lines that can't be lined will be replaced. I went through that very quickly. I'm being sensitive of time, but staff is in a position that we're putting our budget together as well as our plan for I&I mitigation, and we feel strongly about this. We'd like to hear your input and questions.
Matt, when I was at the VML, I talked to the really was city, I believe it's Fairfax. They gave me their brochure and all their litigation things for the laterals.
Yes, sir.
That they have a program that has been working well with them, so I need to give that to you, and so you all can maybe incorporate that in the lateral issues.
Yes, sir. You mentioned that to me before.
Yeah.
Robbie contacted Fairfax City. We have information on their program. They pay for 75%. 75% if the homeowner takes it all the way to the main, and then 25% if they take it to the property line. So there is some kind of a grant program that Fairfax City has instituted.
There's some weird things to it though. Like on the house side, they make the homeowner responsible from the house all the way to the main. But on the house side, you have to get pre-qualified, and they charge all the residents a fee each year. It's like $18 to $36, and they put it in a fund. But in order to get to get reimbursed on the private side, they said it has to be CIPP line and it can't be open cut.
No, that's right, I agree.
And there's different things, but yeah, they sent me a whole pile of information and
Okay,
stuff.
well, I'll give you what I have, and y'all can compare the two.
That'd be great.
Go from there.
Yeah, what was interesting is, it's not in here, something that we ought to be thinking about is the amount of, the number of sump pumps that are actually hooked into our sewer system. And it was estimated, I sent you 2 articles last week. These were, I thought, really good articles. I encourage you to find time. One is educating the public about the problem with I&I, and then the other one was Open Doors with Amnesty. One firm, engineering firm, CDM Smith, has found across numerous I&I mitigation programs that private properties contribute to an estimated 50 to 70% of total I&I for any given municipality. Of that, private sump pumps connected to municipal sewer systems are thought to be the largest contributor.
We went through that back in the 80s, late 80s, and we went through every house that had even if their basement, where you go down the stairs, we made them cover those as well, so the water didn't go down in there because they were going in the sewer. So we did it at one time, but I'm sure since then there's been a lot reattached to the system.
Yeah, and it's not, again, I want to make sure the public understands, we're not targeting people with sump pumps. It's a way to, and the article goes on to say, people want to do the right things, they just don't know that you're not supposed to hook up a sump pump into the sewer system, because we have to treat that stormwater. But anyways, I wanted to give council an update and get your sense on whether we should continue down this path and look at an aggressive plan. Jake?
The loan for 0% interest, is that a special program?
It's with DEQ and VRA. Yeah.
Okay.
And it's not guaranteed, but CHA, right, the consultant, CHA felt confident that because of the situation we're in and the consent orders, they felt confident that we, just like we got it for the wastewater plant.
Okay. If we didn't get that, could we fund it through our own enterprise funds?
Some. I don't think we have enough funds necessarily to do all of it,
Okay.
but there was that discussion, we've been debating back and forth,
I mean, 0% interest.
0% interest,
that's
0%
obviously-
interest.
Yeah.
And if we could pay for it with reduction in our electric and our chemicals, that would be a major
That'd be
plus.
great. After this is all, so 2023 is when you said it would be completed?
Yeah, but through the process, as 6 and 7 get complete, they flow meter, they test and see how much of a reduction they're having. So as each basin gets improved, so we'll know prior to 2023 how much our I&I is dropping.
So what is the estimate at, let's just say everything went right and we did everything we said we were going to do by 2023, how much do you feel like that's going to help us from getting out from under the consent order? I guess what I'm really trying to get at is, what's the likelihood that we're going to be having a conversation in 2024, 2025 about building the $22 million?
It'd be hard to speak to that. I don't know if Robbie can. I think it's hard to say. The consultants seem to believe, the engineers seem to believe that if we took this kind of aggressive approach, that it's going to have a significant reduction in the I&I. Now, is that enough to prevent a consent order? We think so, we hope so. But I guess, is there anything you can add to that, Robbie?
Yeah, I mean, they seem to think if we go down this path, that would probably put us close to getting towards the end, hopefully get the consent order.
Either way,
it'll
we still
be
would
up
have
to
to do
sewer.
this.
Yeah, because the system's getting old.
Right.
It's just, the old clay and concrete pipe. And that was one of the things DEQ was like, their thing over the EQ basin was, if you do that, you're still not fixing the system.
Right.
So if you build it, who's to say in another 10 years that would even hold? As the system gets getting older and more water gets in.
All right.
And then you're
The
treating.
consent order is really based on the amount of overflows you have. If you don't have any overflows for quite a while, then the consent order will sort of fades itself out.
And they were the opinion that they would look at our plan in a very, very favorable light, because it is a very aggressive plan to fix the I&I. So CHA felt confident that, DEQ would look very favorable upon it.
Okay.
Still doesn't address the private housing.
Not yet. It depends on how aggressive council wants to go. To take the approach we're taking now, I know Robbie can attest to this, I mean, I want to have multiple firms doing multiple pieces of those steps at the same time, so that in different basins, so we can try to get as much traction as we can in a short time period. We can look at the laterals from the main to the property line sooner than 2023. We could even come up with some creative programs to look at the laterals on private properties, grant programs, whatever we want to do. I think the approach was, this is an aggressive plan. I believe the approach was, let's get this moving forward, see where we are as far as the mitigation, and then determine the next step of private property. What can we do creatively? We have CHA is going to start doing some research to see in the nation what some creative grant programs are out there for private property owners that want to fix any issues they may have on their own property. It's a real delicate issue, and I know Gene, Public Works, you can test that.
And that's just lining their lateral, right? That's not, like you were saying, digging the old up or putting it.
In this round in 6 and 7, there's a few areas in 5, where any laterals that weren't PVC are going to try to be lined. Anything that can't be lined, they're going to open cut and replace if they can't line it. That's from the main to the property line.
Right.
Is the way that is right now for those sections.
So in your budget, unless I hear any objections in your budget, we'll proceed down this path. And of course, you can change your direction anytime council wishes.
Thank you, that's great.
It's gotta be done.
Okay? Thank you.
Thank you, Robbie. Yes, sir.
The next item tonight is a report on the Happy Creek Road Phase 2.
We have Robert Brown here, Mr. Mayor, who's going to hand out some information.
Well, if you do anything, if you're paying for it. If we'll go down here and fix my lines up for free, go for it. Thank you.
I just wanted to give everybody an update on where we are with Happy Creek Road and request that we get the funding put on the consent agenda for next week. We decided that we want to move forward with getting some preliminary designs for Happy Creek to help us with smart scale application coming up in the spring, or any future funding down the road, whether it's revenue sharing or whatever we can qualify for. But definitely for the smart scale, last time we submitted for smart scale, we didn't score very well at all. So we're trying to improve that score. So we feel like if we commit local funds to it, show the commitment to it, as well as having a preliminary plan and actually designing that plan to conform to what VDOT would be looking for, safety improvements and things like that, we can really focus on those items that'll boost the score. So we're hoping that we can get a better score this year. So we got a number of responses from consultants, and we interviewed the top 2, and we decided on RK&K. And they have a lot of experience with helping localities apply for smart scale projects, and so that experience will go a long way, I think, for us in the spring. So the total amount, $68,587.20, is can all be covered with funds that has already been encumbered for Happy Creek Road design. So we'd like to go ahead and proceed with that. Any questions?
You think it will help significantly this time around with Happy Creek being an emergency route to a hospital for our scoring, smart scale?
Yeah, well, any benefit that we can, find that, would help the scoring, we'll definitely emphasize that in the application. And that as far as what their scope of work, it not only includes the design, but it also includes the application itself. So they'll put together the application packet, so they can really emphasize what they know will score better.
Would land acquisitions, getting started with those, would that help our score any?
I don't think it would help our score, but it would help us budgeting, knowing for sure, like the previous cost estimates that we've had are just scoping phase. So they're not really starting to take a hard look at right-of-way acquisition. And if we have a better idea, we can, shave some of the risk off those numbers. So, the scoping estimates are based on a lot of risk. So the less risk you have, the more you can shave those numbers down.
Yeah, you can't get right on getting out of alignment first.
So right now, it's just design phase.
Design an application.
I think it's
put it on the agenda?
Yeah, put it on the agenda. I think it's something, though, that we need to consider in our next year's budget if we have funding to set some money aside maybe for the right-of-way acquisition at a later date. Start funding it now, so we have some money set aside for that. If we can find any money in the budget for that purpose.
How much do you think you want to set aside for something like that?
I don't know, land's gonna be pretty expensive. I'd say 30 to 40,000 if you can get that much in there.
What did that cost us last time?
I really don't know. It was a VDOT project. We didn't get involved in that much. It was under our, it was really under the money that we accrue each year under our urban funding. So we accrue so much money, and I don't know how much is in that point now, at this point. But the first phase was done under VDOT's. We didn't do anything.
First phase caught a lot of homes through there too.
Okay, I added to the agenda, 13.
Well, there's really no
Way to get it
homes
back.
going to be involved except the one there, which is the McDonald property there at the railroad track. The rest of it, it's plenty of room to get enough right of way without bothering any homes through there.
Yeah, that'd be good to one.
Huh? There is a house down there. You may not even need that. You might be able to push it further back. I think you have enough room to do what you have to do with that fine home. That's how it appears anyway.
Yeah, once we have this preliminary plan, then we can really start to take a hard look at, where we can start saving some costs, and if we could change alignment to save some cost, or like they've already mentioned, some saving costs with the, actually what used to be phase 3 out to the county line, of not having to change all those railroad culverts that was originally planned under the VDOT plan.
The flyover,
With that,
is that phase 3 of that? No, it's taking it all the way out.
this includes what we used to call phase 2 and 3. So this goes
Does
all the way
include
to
the
the
3.
county line.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah, the flower is separate, completely
That's a different
separate
one.
issue.
Okay.
Anything else?
Sorry to put it on the agenda. Okay. All right. Go ahead and put it on the consent agenda.
Okay.
Next item is the budget amendment for the broadcast communications hardware.
No, we have Mr. Wilson here.
A few months ago, we had a new franchise agreements for Comcast and Chantel that we had approved. In those agreements, it stated that this money would be set aside for PEG upgrades, upgrade channel 16. We're going to be requesting the council approve a budget amendment to set these funds aside, $51,426 to be used for that. That's about it.
Is there money in the budget to cover that already?
With money we received from Comcast
From
and
Comcast,
Chantel,
okay.
so we'll be raising our revenues and the expenses. I know it only shows the expense on here, but we will add that.
Consent agenda? Added to consent agenda?
Consent agenda, all right?
Yeah.
Okay. Item number 5, downtown revitalization area parking and landscape design.
So the town received 6 respondents for the downtown revitalization area parking and streetscape design. The evaluation committee responded to those evaluations or the bids, and we recommend approving the award to EPR DC for the contracted price of $70,000. This will be funded through the CDBG grant or Community Development Block Grant. EPR has previously worked with the town, county, and the city of Winchester. They'll be responding to the availability of the downtown parking and determine the amount of sufficient parking for the current and projected future use, as well as various land uses. Just wanted to request council's approval to move forward with the awarding the bid. Any questions?
Anybody got any questions?
I mean, I think we're at a point where we've heard enough about this that we have to have.
Yeah.
We have to do it.
Yeah, it's using the CDBG funds, so.
Part of the grant, yeah, I agree, it's just,
Matt, on that, I think we need to put that as a regular agenda item, due to the fact it's 70, and then let people be aware of what's going on.
okay.
All right, the last thing on our agenda is open discussion. Anybody want to talk about anything?
Mr. Mayor, I have two items to discuss. One is town decals. There was a lot of discussion about that last week as it relates to the decals. It'd be my goal, Mr. Mayor, to get it added to a work session for discussion so that we can try to approach the county and work out a more reasonable solution, one that's less confusing as far as whether or not decals need to be on windows or not. Our town code is our town code. Eventually, if council decides to not require the decals to be placed on the windshields, we'll have to amend town code accordingly. But I did want to bring that to your attention, that that's something I'm hoping to get the mayor and vice mayor to add it to the agenda.
Or liaison agenda?
And then to liaison, yes, 26 as well. But I think if we could have a work session prior to and get the sense of council.
Can we do that on the 21st?
We moved it to the 20, then we moved to the 26th?
No, the conversation about the sticker with council at our work session on the 21st?
Sure, yeah, that's fine, that's your desire.
Yeah, there's not too much on the agenda.
No, it's right now it's
I
not.
think they postponed to the 26th as far as the actual meeting.
So if we had a council work session on 21st, and then we can go to our liaison meeting and ask them if they'd add it, that'd be great.
Okay, that's good.
The next item was already discussed briefly. You have before you envisioning Village Commons. This is the facilitator meeting. The goal was to come out with policies and procedures as it relates to use of the Village Commons area. The first meeting is the 16th. We went, I guess, fairly aggressive and transparent, and go ahead and we determined it was going to take approximately 3 meetings. So our goal is to have the last meeting on February 13th and have a final report to council in February. I understand Mr. Huck spoke earlier about concerns about an event in May. I'm optimistic that the policies and procedures that we come up with is not going to greatly impact any events in May. So I'm going to talk to him offline. And
if this is something, these aren't open forums every meeting, right? You're working towards a goal. So if it's something you resolve by the second meeting, would you still hold the third meeting?
No, if we can resolve something, if we can come up with policies and procedures, but the meeting is for business owners and property owners in the historic district. And so we've had 2 meetings with the facilitator. I feel very confident he can manage the meeting. He understands what the goal and the sense is. He's already talked to some business owners individually to gauge the issues. So I'm very optimistic. I'm hopeful that he's going to come out with a good sense of recommendations for us to consider to adopt, so we can get a firm policy. I mean, right now it's so subjective. The town manager just subjectively approves the use of this space, and I think if we have some policies and procedures that at least we get general consensus of the historic district, I think it would serve the council better.
I feel like that's the direction we've been trying to move towards over the last few years of not being so arbitrary decision-making process. So I think this will be great. I mean, I think this is what we've always wanted.
Yeah. That's all I had, Mr. Mayor.
Anybody else got anything they want to bring up today? Good? Yeah. Okay, that closes our meeting. Meeting adjourned.
Thank you.